34 years old, and what I discovered in my own home shattered everything I believed about the people I love. Everything I thought was real turned out to be a carefully constructed lie, and the cost of that lie was more than I could ever have imagined. It cost me my mother's life. It cost me my sanity. It cost me everything I held dear. I'm sitting here now, in an empty house that used to be filled with laughter, trying to find the words to tell you what happened. My hands are still shaking. My heart still races every time I think about that night. The night everything changed. The night I saw something that burned itself into my mind like a brand, leaving a scar that will never heal. But what I saw that night, what I discovered in the weeks that followed, I'll never forget it. Not for as long as I live. It plays in my mind like a movie I can't turn off. Every single day, every single night. The images, the sounds, the betrayal that cut so deep I thought I would bleed out right there on the floor. Before I continue, before I open up this wound and let you see inside, please like this video, subscribe to this channel. Tell me where you're watching from, what country, what city. Tell me the time where you are right now. It helps me know that someone out there still believes in stories like this, that someone out there understands that real life can be more horrifying than any fiction. That betrayal doesn't just happen in movies. It happens in homes just like yours, just like mine used to be. So let me take you back. Let me take you back to before the nightmare, before the truth, before my mother's heart gave out from the shock of what her daughter-in-law had done. Let me take you back to when I still believed in love, in trust, in the sanctity of marriage and family. 2 years ago, my life was everything I'd ever wanted. I had a beautiful wife named Sarah. We'd been married for 6 years, together for 9. She had these green eyes that used to light up when she smiled at me. This way of laughing that made everything feel okay, even on the worst days. We had a nice house in the suburbs, nothing fancy, but it was ours. 3 bedrooms, a small garden where Sarah liked to plant flowers every spring. Roses, mostly. She loved roses. I worked as an accountant at a mid-sized firm downtown. Stable job, decent pay, good benefits. Sarah was a nurse at the local hospital, working the day shift mostly, which meant we had our evenings together. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies, talk about our days. Simple things, beautiful things. The kind of normal life that people dream about. My mom lived about 20 minutes away, in the house where I grew up. Dad had passed 5 years earlier. Heart attack. Sudden and brutal. But Mom was strong. She kept herself busy with her garden club, her church group, her friends from the neighborhood. She came over every Sunday for dinner. It was our tradition. Sarah would make her famous roast chicken, and Mom would bring dessert, usually her apple pie that I'd been eating since I was a kid. Those Sunday dinners were sacred to me. The 3 of us around the table, talking and laughing. Mom telling stories about me as a child, embarrassing me in front of Sarah, who would laugh and tease me gently. Sarah and Mom had always gotten along so well. They'd go shopping together sometimes, have lunch, talk on the phone. Mom used to tell me all the time how lucky I was to have found Sarah, how she was the daughter she never had. "You hold on to that girl, David," she'd say, squeezing my hand. "She's special. She's family." And I believed her. God, I believed her with every fiber of my being. Our days had a rhythm to them, a comfortable, predictable rhythm. I'd wake up at 6, go for a run around the neighborhood, come home to find Sarah making breakfast, usually scrambled eggs and toast. We'd eat together, talk about nothing and everything. Then, we'd both head off to work. She'd text me during the day sometimes. Little things. "Miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you." I'd come home around 6. Sarah usually got home around the same time. We'd cook together, moving around our kitchen like dancers who knew each other's steps by heart. She'd chop vegetables while I prepared the meat. We'd talk about our days, about office drama and difficult patients, about what movie we might watch later, about plans for the weekend. Weekends were for us. Sometimes we'd drive out to the coast, walk along the beach, eat fish and chips sitting on the seawall. Sometimes we'd just stay home, lazy mornings in bed, reading the papers, making love slowly, like we had all the time in the world. Sometimes we'd have friends over, barbecues in the summer, game nights in the winter. It was a good life. No, it was more than good. It was everything I'd ever wanted. I was content. I was happy. I was in love with my wife, close to my mother, secure in my job, comfortable in my home. I was a fool, 'cause I didn't see it. I didn't see the cracks forming underneath all that perfect normalcy. I didn't see the way things were changing, so slowly, so subtly, that by the time I noticed, it was almost too late. But soon, I started noticing small things that didn't make sense. Little things that my brain tried to dismiss, tried to explain away, but that kept nagging at me like a splinter I couldn't quite reach. Sarah's phone. She'd always been casual about it before, leaving it on the kitchen counter, on the coffee table, face up where I could see notifications pop up. But she started keeping it with her, all the time, taking it to the bathroom, keeping it in her pocket even at home, and when it buzzed, she'd glance at it quickly, then put it away without responding, her face unreadable. "Everything okay?" I'd ask. "Just work stuff," she'd say, smiling that smile that used to reassure me. But something in it felt different now, practiced, like she'd rehearsed it. She started taking more shifts at the hospital, night shifts, which she'd always avoided before because she hated sleeping during the day. But suddenly she was volunteering for them, coming home at 7 or 8 in the morning, exhausted, barely speaking to me before she crashed into bed. "They really need me," she'd explain. "We're so short-staffed right now. I can't say no." And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was a nurse. Nurses work long hours. They sacrifice for their patients. It made sense. But there were other things. The way she'd started dressing differently for work. More makeup. Perfume I didn't recognize. New lingerie that I'd find in the laundry. Lacy and expensive, that she never wore for me. "When did you get this?" I asked once, holding up a red bra I'd never seen. "Oh, ages ago," she said breezily. "It's more comfortable for long shifts." Comfortable. Right. Our Sunday dinners with Mum started to feel strained. Sarah would be on her phone more, excusing herself to take calls, coming back distracted and distant. Mum noticed too. I could see it in her eyes when she looked at Sarah. A question there, a concern she didn't voice. "Is everything all right with you two?" Mum asked me once, when Sarah had gone to the bathroom. "Of course," I said automatically. "Why?" "I don't know," Mum said slowly. "Sarah seems different lately. Stressed, maybe." "Work's been really busy," I explained, defending my wife like I was supposed to. "You know how it is. You know." Mum nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She just patted my hand and said, "If you ever need to talk, sweetheart, I'm here." I should have listened to her. I should have paid attention to that mother's intuition, that sixth sense that knows when something's wrong with her child. But I didn't. I pushed it away. I told myself everything was fine, until one night, I couldn't tell myself that anymore. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were usually our easy nights. No plans, no obligations, just us. But Sarah had called that afternoon to say she was picking up an extra shift, wouldn't be home until late. Again? I couldn't help the frustration in my voice. "I'm sorry, baby," she said, and she did sound apologetic. "I promise I'll make it up to you this weekend. We'll do something special." "Okay," I said. trying to swallow my disappointment. I love you. A pause. Just a beat too long. Love you too, she said finally, and hung up. I ordered takeout that night. Chinese food. Ate it alone in front of the TV. Some action movie I wasn't really watching. I kept glancing at the clock. 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. The shift should have ended at 10. Where was she? I texted her. You okay? On your way home? No response. Midnight. Still nothing. I called. It rang and went to voicemail. Sarah, it's me. Just wondering where you are. Call me back. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Lay there, in our bed, on my side, staring at the empty pillow where her head should have been. Scenarios ran through my mind. Maybe there was an emergency at the hospital. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she stopped to get gas, and her car broke down. Maybe. At 1:30 in the morning, I heard the front door open. I sat up, heart pounding, listened to her footsteps in the hallway, soft and careful, like she was trying not to wake me. I turned on the bedside lamp as she appeared in the doorway. She froze. Oh, you're awake. Where were you? I tried to keep my voice calm, neutral, but I could hear the edge in it. At work, I told you. She started undressing, not meeting my eyes. Until 1:30 in the morning? Your shift ended at 10. We had an emergency, a patient coded. It was chaos. I couldn't get away. She was lying. I knew it like I knew my own name. Something in her voice, and the way her hands trembled slightly as she pulled off her scrubs, and the way she still wouldn't look at me. Your phone was off, I said. The battery died. I'm sorry. I should have found a charger and called you. She climbed into bed, turned away from me, pulled the covers up to her chin. Sarah, I said to her back. I'm exhausted, David. Can we please talk about this tomorrow? And I let it go. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what I might find if I pushed too hard. Afraid of the truth that was already forming in my mind like a dark cloud, threatening to storm. But the next morning, when I got up for my run, I noticed something. Sarah's car was parked in its usual spot in our driveway. I walked over to it, looked through the window. There, on the passenger seat, was a receipt. I tried the door. Unlocked. Sarah never left her car unlocked. I picked up the receipt. It was from a hotel. Not a hospital. A hotel. 20 miles away. Checked in at 7 p.m. Checked out at midnight. My hands started shaking. My vision blurred. I stood there in our driveway, in my running clothes, holding this piece of paper that destroyed everything, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel this crushing weight on my chest, like someone had parked a car on top of me. She wasn't at work. She was at a hotel for 5 hours, while I sat at home alone, worrying about her, trusting her, believing every word out of her lying mouth. I went back inside. Sarah was still asleep. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her breathe, watching her sleep so peacefully, and I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her awake and demand answers. But I didn't, because I needed to know more. I needed to know everything. Who, when, how long, why. Until one night, I saw something that made my heart stop. Number, denial, and doubt. I didn't confront her that morning. I couldn't. I was too shocked, too hurt, too confused. Instead, I folded the receipt carefully and put it in my wallet. Evidence, proof, something real and tangible to remind me that I wasn't crazy, that what I suspected was actually happening. I went through my day like a zombie. At work, people asked if I was feeling okay. I looked pale, they said. Tired. Was I coming down with something? Yeah, I told them. Maybe a cold. I'll be fine. But I wasn't fine. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Numbers swam before my eyes on spreadsheets. Clients talked to me, and I nodded without hearing a word they said. All I could think about was that receipt, that hotel, those 5 hours. Who was she with? Someone from the hospital? A doctor? Another nurse? How long had this been going on? Days? Weeks? Months? Years? Had our entire marriage been a lie? I felt sick, actually physically ill. I went to the bathroom at work and threw up, my hands gripping the sides of the toilet, my whole body shaking. When I got home that evening, Sarah was there. She'd made dinner, pasta, my favorite. She smiled at me when I walked in, came over, and kissed my cheek. "How was your day?" she asked. So casual, so normal. "Fine," I managed. "Yours?" I. Game. I managed. I managed. Yours? I. I managed. I managed. Yours? I managed. I managed. I managed. I managed. Exhausting, but good. We sat down to eat. I pushed the food around on my plate, barely tasting it. Sarah chatted about some drama at the hospital, a conflict between two doctors. She seemed relaxed, happy even, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just cheated on me the night before. How could she do this? How could she sit across from me and act like everything was normal? Didn't she feel guilty? Didn't it eat at her the way it was eating at me? "David?" Her voice broke through my thoughts. "Are you listening?" "Sorry. What?" I said, "Do you want to go visit your mom this weekend? I feel like we haven't seen her in a while." My mom. The thought of her made my chest tighten. How could I face her right now? How could I sit at her table, in the house where I grew up, and pretend everything was fine? She'd know. She always knew when something was wrong with me. "Maybe," I said. "Let me check my schedule." Sarah frowned slightly. "Is everything okay? You seem distant." The nerve, the absolute nerve of her to ask me that. "Just tired," I said. "Long day." She reached across the table and took my hand. Her touch made my skin crawl. "You work too hard," she said softly. "Maybe we should take a vacation, get away for a bit, just the two of us." Just the two of us. Like we were still an us. Like she hadn't destroyed that with whatever she was doing behind my back. "Yeah," I said, pulling my hand away under the pretense of reaching for my water. "Maybe." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her, listening to her breathe, and I wanted to wake her up. I wanted to demand answers, but I was afraid of what she might say, afraid that if I confronted her now, without more proof, she'd lie her way out of it, gaslight me, make me feel crazy. I needed more information. I needed to be sure. Over the next few days, I started watching her more carefully, paying attention to patterns. She worked a day shift on Monday. I called the hospital, pretended to be a patient, asking for Nurse Sarah Mitchell. "She's not in today," the receptionist said. "Would you like to leave a message?" But Sarah had left for work that morning in her scrubs. I'd watched her drive away. Tuesday, same thing. She said she was working. I called. She wasn't there. Where was she going? What was she doing? I wanted to follow her. I wanted to track her phone. I wanted to hire a private investigator. But something held me back. Some part of me that still hoped I was wrong. That still wanted to believe there was some explanation. Some reason that would make all of this make sense. I called Mom one night when Sarah was supposedly at work. "David." She sounded happy to hear from me. "How are you, sweetheart?" "I'm okay," I lied. "Just wanted to hear your voice." "That's sweet. Is Sarah there?" I wanted to ask her about that recipe she mentioned last time. She's at work. Night shift. A pause. Again? She's been working a lot of nights lately, hasn't she? Yeah, I said, my throat tight. Hospital short-staffed. Mom didn't sound convinced. David, is everything all right? With you two? I wanted to tell her. God, I wanted to tell her everything. To break down and cry and ask her what to do. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not until I knew for sure. Everything's fine, Mom. I'm just tired. You sound more than tired. You sound sad. Mothers. They always know. I'm okay, I insisted. Really? Well, if you need anything at all, you call me. Day or night. You hear me? I hear you, Mom. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. After I hung up, I sat there in the dark house, and I cried. Just let myself break down and sob like I hadn't done since I was a child. Because I knew, deep down, I knew what was happening. I just didn't want to believe it. But the next morning, the evidence was right in front of me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I woke up early, before dawn. Sarah was still asleep beside me. I slipped out of bed quietly, went to the kitchen, made coffee. My mind was racing, putting together a plan. I needed proof, real proof. Not just a receipt, not just missed phone calls. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to know exactly what was happening, so that when I confronted her, she couldn't lie, couldn't twist things around, couldn't make me feel like I was the crazy one. I thought about hiring a private investigator, but that felt too impersonal, too distant. This was my wife, my life. I needed to do this myself. So I decided I would follow her, see where she went when she said she was going to work, see who she met, see everything. The plan terrified me, because once I saw it, once I knew for certain, there would be no going back. The truth would be real, tangible, undeniable, and I'd have to deal with it, have to face it, have to decide what to do with the shattered remains of my marriage. But I couldn't live like this anymore. Couldn't spend another day in this limbo of suspicion and doubt. I needed to know. Sarah's next shift was supposed to be Wednesday, another night shift, she said, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I told her I had to work late, had a big project due. She seemed relieved, actually. Kissed me goodbye at the door. Told me not to wait up. I'll see you in the morning, she said, smiling that practiced smile. See you in the morning, I echoed, my heart pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. I watched her drive away. Then I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and followed her. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. My breath came in short gasps. I kept far enough back that she wouldn't notice me, but close enough that I wouldn't lose her. We drove through our neighborhood toward the main road that led to the hospital. But she didn't turn toward the hospital. She kept going straight, onto the highway, heading out of town. My stomach dropped. Where was she going? 20 minutes later, she exited the highway. We were in the next town over, an area I didn't know well. She drove through residential streets, older houses, big trees. Finally, she pulled into a driveway. I parked down the street, far enough away that she wouldn't see me, and watched. The house was a small ranch-style place, well-maintained, but nothing special. Sarah got out of her car, didn't even hesitate, walked right up to the front door and knocked. It opened immediately. Like he'd been waiting for her. Him, a man. Tall, dark hair, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He smiled when he saw her. Not just smiled, his whole face lit up. And she smiled back, the same way. like she was seeing someone she loved. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. I'm not talking about a peck on the cheek. I'm talking about a deep, passionate kiss, his hands in her hair, her arms around his neck. The kind of kiss that speaks of intimacy, of familiarity, of something that's been going on for a long time. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could only sit there in my car, watching my wife kiss another man, watching her disappear into his house, the door closing behind them. I sat there for a long time. I don't know how long. Time seemed to stop. My brain couldn't process what I'd just seen. It kept trying to make excuses. Maybe it was her brother. Maybe it was a friend who needed help. Maybe. But I knew. Of course I knew. You don't kiss your brother like that. You don't kiss a friend like that. That was the kiss of a lover. Of someone she cared about. Maybe even someone she loved. I wanted to storm up to that door. I wanted to break it down, drag her out, demand answers. But I couldn't move. I was frozen, paralyzed by the weight of what I'd just witnessed. Eventually, I started my car and drove home. I don't remember the drive. I was on autopilot, my mind blank, my body numb. At home, I sat in the dark living room, staring at nothing. Hours passed. I didn't turn on any lights, didn't watch TV, didn't eat, just sat there, waiting for her to come home, waiting to see how she'd lie to me, waiting to see how she'd look me in the eye and pretend she'd been at work all night. That night, I pressed record on my phone and waited. Sarah came home at 7 a.m., like she always did after a night shift. I heard her key in the lock, heard her footsteps in the hallway. I was sitting at the kitchen table, coffee in front of me that had gone cold hours ago, my phone in my hand, recording. She walked in, still in her scrubs, fake scrubs, costume, disguise. Everything about her was a lie. "Hey," she said, smiling tiredly. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I said, my voice flat. She went to the coffee maker, poured herself a cup, her back to me. "How was work?" I asked. "Busy, really busy. We had 3 admissions and 2 codes. I'm exhausted." Lies. All lies. Flowing out of her mouth as easily as breathing. "Where were you last night, Sarah?" I saw her shoulders stiffen. She turned slowly to face me. "What do you mean?" "I just told you. I was at work." "No, you weren't." She laughed, but it sounded nervous. "David, what are you talking about? Of course I was at work. I called the hospital 3 times last night. Asked for Nurse Sarah Mitchell. You weren't there. They said you didn't have a shift scheduled." The color drained from her face. She set her coffee cup down on the counter, her hand shaking slightly. I must have gotten my days mixed up. I worked Monday night. I called Monday too, and Tuesday. You weren't there any of those days either." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "David, where were you last night, Sarah?" "I can explain. Where were you?" I was shouting now. Couldn't help it. All the rage, all the hurt, all the betrayal flooding out of me in a roar that made her flinch. Her eyes filled with tears. Real tears? Or fake ones? I couldn't tell anymore. "I've been seeing someone." There it was. The truth. Finally. The words that confirmed what I already knew, but had been too afraid to believe. I froze. My whole world collapsed in a single frame. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed about my life, about my marriage, about the woman I loved, shattered like glass. "How long?" My voice was barely a whisper now. "David, please." "How long?" 8 months. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. It just did." 8 months. while I was home alone, trusting her, believing her, loving her. She'd been with someone else for 8 months. Who is he? That doesn't matter. Who is he? His name is Mark. He's a pharmaceutical rep. We met at the hospital. We started talking, and then we started having coffee. And then you started fucking him. She winced at the crudeness of my words. Good. I wanted her to hurt. I wanted her to feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. Do you love him? I asked, and I hated how broken my voice sounded. She didn't answer, just stood there, crying, looking at me with something like pity in her eyes. Do you love him? I asked again. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know anything anymore. Do you still love me? Another pause, this one longer. I don't know that either. I stood up. My legs felt weak, like they might give out at any moment. Get out, David. Get out of my house. This is my house too. We can talk about this. We can work through this. Work through this? You've been cheating on me for 8 months. You've been lying to me every single day, looking me in the eye and lying. And you want to work through this? People make mistakes. Marriages go through rough patches. We can go to counseling. I don't want to go to counseling with you. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to hear your voice. I want you out. She grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. At the door, she turned back. I really am sorry, David. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, I said quietly. You destroyed me. You destroyed us. And for what? For him? She didn't answer, just opened the door and left. I stood there in my kitchen, in the house that suddenly felt empty and foreign, and I broke. I sank to the floor and sobbed, great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep inside me, somewhere I didn't even know existed. I cried for my marriage, for my wife, for the life we'd built that was now rubble at my feet. But what happened next was even worse. I didn't tell anyone at first. I couldn't find the words to explain what had happened. Couldn't bear to see the pity in people's eyes when they found out my wife had cheated on me. Sarah moved out that same day. She came back with her sister while I was at work, took her clothes, her things, left her keys on the kitchen counter. I came home to a house that looked ransacked, half-empty closets and drawers, gaps where her books used to be on the shelves, missing pictures on the walls. She'd taken all the photos of us, every single one, like she wanted to erase our history, pretend it never happened. I called in sick to work for a week. Couldn't face people, couldn't pretend to be okay. I stayed in the house, in the dark, barely eating, barely sleeping, just replaying everything in my mind, every moment of our relationship, trying to figure out where it went wrong, what I'd done wrong, why I wasn't enough. My phone buzzed constantly. Sarah calling, texting, leaving voicemails. I didn't answer, didn't read the messages, deleted the voicemails without listening. I had nothing to say to her. Nothing she could say would make this better. On the 8th day, there was a knock on my door. I ignored it. The knocking continued, persistent, urgent. David! David! I know you're in there! Open this door right now! Mum. I dragged myself off the couch, unlocked the door. She took one look at me and gasped. Oh my God, David, what happened? You look terrible. I must have. I hadn't showered in days, hadn't shaved, was still wearing the same clothes I'd slept in. I probably smelled. I didn't care. Can I come in? She asked, and I stepped aside. She walked into my living room, took in the mess, the empty beer bottles, the unwashed dishes, and turned back to me with concern written all over her face. What's going on? Where's Sarah? I've been calling you both. Nobody's answering. I was worried sick. And then It all came pouring out. Everything. The suspicions, the hotel receipt, following her, seeing her with him, the confrontation, all of it. I told her everything while she stood there, her face growing paler and paler, her hand over her mouth. When I finished, she was crying. My strong, unshakable mother was crying. "That girl," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "That girl I welcomed into my family. That girl I loved like a daughter. How could she do this to you? How could she?" She pulled me into her arms, and I let her hold me like I was a child again, like I was 5 years old with a scraped knee instead of 34 with a shattered heart. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," she whispered. "I'm so, so sorry." We stood there for a long time, holding each other, both of us crying. "What do I do, Mom?" I asked. "What do I do?" She pulled back, looked at me with fierce determination. "You survive," she said. "You survive, and you heal, and you move on. That's what you do." "I don't think I can." "Yes, you can. You're my son. You're strong, stronger than you know." She stayed with me for the next 3 days, cleaned my house, made me eat, forced me to shower and shave, made me talk about it instead of bottling it up inside, held me when I broke down crying, which was often. "I want to go see her," Mom said on the 3rd day. "I want to talk to Sarah." "Mom, don't. She owes you an explanation, a real one, and she owes me one too. I treated her like family. It won't change anything." "Maybe not. But I need to look her in the eye and ask her why. Don't you want to know why?" I did. God help me, I did. So we went to Sarah's sister's house, where I knew she was staying. Mom knocked on the door, and Sarah answered. She looked tired, worn, guilty. When she saw Mom, she burst into tears. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "Why?" Mom's voice was cold, hard. "Why did you do this to my son?" "I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I felt stuck. I felt like my life was this predictable routine, and I wanted something exciting, something that made me feel alive again. And Mark made me feel that way." "So you threw away 6 years of marriage for excitement?" Mom's voice was rising. "You broke my son's heart because you were bored?" "It was more than that. David and we'd become roommates, not lovers. We barely talked anymore. Everything was routine. Wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, the same thing every single day. I felt like I was suffocating." "So you talked to him about it? You suggested counseling? You tried to fix your marriage?" Mom demanded. Sarah looked away. "You didn't, did you? You just went and found someone else, instead of working on your relationship, instead of honoring your vows." "I made a mistake," Sarah whispered. "A mistake is forgetting to buy milk at the store. This is betrayal. This is cruelty. This is you throwing away a good man who loved you with everything he had." I stood behind Mom, watching this, feeling numb. Sarah kept glancing at me, like she wanted me to say something, to defend her maybe. But I had nothing to say. "Are you going to marry him?" Mom asked. "This Mark person?" "I don't know. Maybe. Eventually." Mom laughed, a bitter sound. "You really think he's going to be different? You really think that once the excitement wears off, once you're in another routine relationship, you won't do the same thing to him? That's not fair." "Fair. You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what's not fair. It's not fair that my son is at home, barely eating, barely sleeping, crying himself sick over you. It's not fair that he's questioning everything about himself, wondering what he did wrong, when the only person who did anything wrong is you." Sarah was crying harder now. I know. I know I messed up. I know I hurt him. I hurt myself too. But I can't take it back. I can't undo what I did. No, Mom said quietly. You can't, and neither can we. We left after that, drove home in silence. When we got to my house, Mom turned to me. How do you feel? She asked. I don't know. Empty, I guess. That's okay. Empty is better than destroyed. You'll fill that emptiness back up in time. With new experiences, new people, new love. I don't want new love. I wanted her. I know, sweetheart. I know. That night, Mom went home. I was alone again in my house, but somehow it felt different. A little lighter, maybe. Like confronting Sarah, like hearing her pathetic excuses, had given me some kind of closure. I thought it was over. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought I could start to heal now. I was wrong. A week later, I got the call. It was early morning, barely 6 a.m. My phone rang, jerking me out of a restless sleep. I fumbled for it, saw a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Is this David Mitchell? Yes. Who is this? Quote, this is Dr. Patel from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling about your mother, Margaret Mitchell. She's been admitted to the emergency room. My heart stopped. What? What happened? Is she okay? She had a heart attack, a severe one. She's stable right now, but you need to come to the hospital immediately. I don't remember getting dressed. Don't remember driving to the hospital. The next thing I knew, I was running through the emergency room doors, demanding to see my mother, being directed to the cardiac intensive care unit. She looked so small in that hospital bed, so fragile, hooked up to machines, wires, and tubes everywhere, her face pale and drawn. Her eyes were closed. I thought she was sleeping until I got closer and saw the tears on her cheeks. Mom, I whispered, taking her hand. Mom, I'm here. Her eyes fluttered open. She tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. David, she breathed. My boy. Don't talk. Save your strength. You're going to be okay. The doctors are taking care of you. She shook her head slightly. David, I need to tell you something. It can wait. No, it can't. She squeezed my hand with surprising strength. After we saw Sarah, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About what she did to you. It made me so angry. So upset. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Just kept replaying it in my mind. Mom, this isn't your fault. Let me finish. Yesterday, I was at home, and my chest started hurting. I ignored it at first, thought it was just stress. But it got worse. The pain, it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. I managed to call 911, and they brought me here. You should have called me, I said, tears streaming down my face now. You should have called me right away. I didn't want to worry you. You've been through so much already. You're my mother. You're more important than anything. She smiled weakly. The doctors say I need surgery. My heart, it's damaged. They need to do bypass surgery. Then they'll do it, and you'll be fine. You have to be fine. David, if something happens, nothing's going to happen. If something happens, she continued firmly, I need you to know something about Sarah. About what I found out. What? What are you talking about? After we confronted her, I couldn't let it go. I'm sorry, but I couldn't. So I did some digging. I called some people, asked some questions. Mom, what did you find out? Her face crumpled. She's been lying about more than just the affair. Mark, the man she's been seeing, he's married, has 2 kids. She's been having an affair with a married man, helping him destroy his family. the same way she destroyed ours. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How do you know this? I have a friend who works at the hospital. I asked her about Mark, about any pharmaceutical reps named Mark. She told me. She'd seen them together. She'd heard the rumors. Everyone at the hospital knew, David. Everyone knew except you. The humiliation hit me like a wave. Everyone knew. My wife's coworkers knew she was cheating. They'd watched her lie to me, watched her sneak around, and nobody said anything. Nobody warned me. There's more, Mom said quietly. The hotel receipt you found? That wasn't the first time. She's been going to that hotel with him for months. Since the beginning of their affair. Always the same room. They had a regular arrangement. How do you know all this? I went there. To the hotel. Showed them her picture. The front desk clerk remembered her. She and Mark checked in there at least twice a week. Like clockwork. Twice a week. For 8 months. I couldn't even do the math. Couldn't wrap my mind around how many times she'd lied to me. How many nights she'd been with him while telling me she was at work. Why didn't you tell me this before? I asked. I was going to. Yesterday. I was going to call you and tell you everything. But then my chest started hurting. And she trailed off, her eyes closing. Mom, I'm okay, she murmured. A nurse came in then, checked her monitors, adjusted her IV. She needs to rest now, the nurse said gently. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. You should go home, get some sleep yourself. I'm not leaving her, David. Mum's voice was barely a whisper. Go home, come back tomorrow. I'll be here. I'm not leaving, I repeated stubbornly. She smiled. Just like when you were little, so stubborn. I stayed by her bedside all day, held her hand, talked to her about memories, about growing up, about Dad. She drifted in and out of consciousness, but every time she woke up, she'd squeeze my hand and smile. That night, around 10 p.m., she woke up and looked at me with clear eyes. I love you so much, she said. You know that, right? I know, Mom. I love you too. Quays are wise. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You're strong. We're both going to be okay. Tomorrow, after your surgery, you're going to get better, and things are going to go back to normal. She didn't say anything, just smiled sadly and closed her eyes. At 2 a.m., the monitors started beeping frantically. Nurses rushed in, doctors. Someone pulled me out of the room. I stood in the hallway, watching through the window as they worked on her, as they tried to save her. But her heart had had enough. Too much stress, too much strain, too much damage, both physical and emotional. She died at 2:47 a.m., with me standing helplessly outside, unable to do anything but watch. And just when I thought life was returning to normal, something unexpected happened. I was given a box of my mother's personal effects. And in that box, among her jewelry and her glasses and her favorite cardigan, was a notebook. A notebook full of notes, dates, times, names, everything she'd discovered about Sarah's affair, everything she'd been planning to tell me. But there was more. On the last page, in my mother's handwriting, was a message. David, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get a chance to tell you everything. There's something else you need to know. Something Sarah said to me in private after you went to the car. She said she was pregnant with his baby, and she's planning to pass it off as yours. Don't let her do this to you. You deserve better. You deserve the truth. I love you, Mom. I stood there in the hospital corridor, holding that notebook, and something inside me broke all over again. Not just broke, shattered, exploded, turned to dust. Sarah was pregnant. with his baby. And she'd told my mother. The stress of keeping that secret, of knowing that her son was about to be deceived in yet another way, had literally broken my mother's heart. Sarah didn't just cheat on me. She didn't just lie to me. She killed my mother. 6 months since my mother died. 6 months since I found out about the pregnancy. 6 months since my life turned into a nightmare that I still can't fully believe is real. The funeral was the worst day of my life. Worse than finding out about the affair. Worse than watching my mother die. Because I had to stand there, in front of everyone who loved her, and pretend I didn't know what really killed her. Pretend it was just her heart, just her time, just fate. But I knew better. I knew the truth. And so I stood there, numb and hollow, and watched them lower her into the ground. And I thought about how Sarah had taken her from me, just as surely as if she'd pulled a trigger. Sarah had the nerve to show up to the funeral, stood in the back, crying, wearing black like she had any right to mourn. I saw her. I wanted to scream at her, to throw her out, to tell everyone what she'd done, but I didn't. It was Mum's Day. She deserved respect, even if Sarah didn't. After the service, Sarah tried to approach me. I turned my back on her and walked away. I couldn't look at her, couldn't stand to be near her. The sight of her made me physically ill. She sent me a text later that night. "I'm so sorry about your mum. I know she meant everything to you." I blocked her number. But I couldn't block what I knew. Couldn't ignore the notebook, the notes, the truth that my mother had died trying to protect me. I spent weeks trying to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to confront Sarah, to throw what I knew in her face, to hurt her the way she'd hurt me. But another part of me just wanted to be done with her, to never see her again, to never hear her voice, or her lies, or her excuses. In the end, I did nothing. I filed for divorce through a lawyer, didn't speak to her directly, let the legal system handle it. She didn't contest it, didn't ask for anything. Just signed the papers and that was it. 6 years of marriage dissolved in a matter of weeks. I found out later, through mutual friends, that Mark left his wife, that he and Sarah are together now, living in some apartment across town, that she had the baby, a girl, that they're playing house, pretending to be a happy family. Good for them. I hope they're miserable. The house felt wrong after Mom died, full of ghosts and memories. So I sold it, moved to a new city, got a new job, started over, tried to build a new life from the ruins of my old one. It's been hard. Some days are better than others. Some days I can go hours without thinking about what happened. Other days, it hits me out of nowhere. The grief and the rage and the pain, and I have to just breathe through it until it passes. I think about my mother every single day, about how strong she was, about how much she loved me, about how she used her last days trying to protect me from more hurt. I wish I could have protected her. Wish I could have spared her from the stress that killed her. Wish I'd never married Sarah in the first place. But wishing doesn't change anything, doesn't bring Mum back, doesn't undo the betrayal, doesn't heal the wounds. All I can do is move forward, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. What did I learn from all of this? What wisdom can I pull from this nightmare? I learned that people are capable of extraordinary cruelty, that someone can smile to your face while stabbing you in the back, that love doesn't guarantee loyalty. That trust is a gift that can be shattered in an instant. I learned that red flags exist for a reason, that when your gut tells you something's wrong, you should listen. That changes in behavior, in routine, in attitude, they mean something. They're trying to tell you something. Don't ignore them. I learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt you, it ripples outward, touching everyone who loves you, damaging them too. My mother died because of what Sarah did. That's a weight I'll carry forever, and a weight Sarah should carry too, though I doubt she does. I learned that some people will never admit fault, will never truly apologize, will never take real responsibility for the pain they've caused. They'll make excuses, blame circumstances, minimize their actions. And you have to accept that you'll never get the closure you want from them. You have to find it within yourself. If something feels wrong, trust your instincts. Don't let people gaslight you into thinking you're crazy or paranoid or insecure. If your partner's behavior changes, if they're suddenly secretive or distant or defensive, there's probably a reason. You have a right to ask questions. You have a right to demand honesty. You have a right to protect yourself. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't make excuses for them. Don't tell yourself that you're overreacting or that everything's fine, because it's probably not fine. And the longer you wait to confront it, the worse it will be when the truth finally comes out. And it always comes out, eventually. The truth always finds a way to the surface. Take care of the people who love you. Cherish them. Protect them. Don't let toxic people into your inner circle where they can do damage. And if someone betrays you, don't let them hurt the people around you too. Get them out of your life as quickly and completely as possible. Life is too short to spend it with liars and cheaters, with people who don't respect you or value you, with people who think your love is something they can take for granted. You deserve better. We all deserve better. And if you're going through something like this right now, if you're in the middle of this kind of pain, I want you to know you'll survive it. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know it feels like your whole world has ended, but you're stronger than you think. You'll get through this. And on the other side, you'll be different, but you'll be okay. Trust yourself. Love yourself. Protect yourself. And don't ever let anyone make you feel like your pain doesn't matter, because it does. You matter. And that's not the only secret I discovered that year, but that's a story for another time. If this story touched your heart, if any part of it resonated with you, please like this video. Subscribe to this channel so you can hear more stories like this. Real stories, true stories. Stories about survival and betrayal and the strength it takes to keep going when everything falls apart. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. What country? What city? What time it is right now where you are? I want to know that these words are reaching people. That someone out there understands. That I'm not alone in this pain. And neither are you. If you've been through something similar, if you've felt this kind of betrayal, this kind of loss, leave a comment. Share your story. Let's build a community of survivors. Let's help each other heal. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's going through something like what I went through, share this video with them. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know they'll survive. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to hear my story, to bear witness to my pain. It means more than you could ever know. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And remember, you deserve love. You deserve honesty. You deserve better than betrayal. Don't ever forget that. My name is David. I'm 34 years old, and I survived. You will too.